Toy Spot, we're going to be having a look at DC Superheroes Steel. Now there is something rather interesting to point out about the Steel figure, and it's not really relating to the figure itself. However, this is the last figure I need to review of the DC Superheroes figure line. Oh! Now granted, there was still a Comic-Con Man-Bat repaint. As you know, as I've mentioned in my other reviews, Man-Bat initially was going to be a brown version released in this set. They ended up not releasing it, but they did release a Comic-Con repaint of him in the albino white. I still actually have to do a review of him, but I suppose aside from the convention exclusive, the DC Superheroes is finally finished. What that means for you guys is now I can start looking at the DC Universe figures, and we'll get through those. But let's look back at the Steel figure though, and have a look at the packaging. As I mentioned with the other figures in this wave, they really chinsed out by giving us the exact same backdrop. Steel, on the other hand, does have a different backdrop. It's the broken chains, kind of he's breaking through. One other thing as well is, if you can see in the top hand corner there, top left hand corner, the Superman also sporting the same diorama. And the strange thing about this is, as I mentioned before, I don't remember seeing the blue costume Superman as part of this wave. Bit of a mystery there. Maybe Robert Stack could solve this mystery. I don't know. He might. But then we have Steel at the bottom there. On the back of the packaging here, we have the other figures in this wave. We have the original costume Superman, we have the blue costume Supergirl, we have Steel, we have the lava repaint Doomsday. Crap! We also have Parasite, and we also have the non-necklaced Bizarro. As I mentioned, I don't think either of these figures were released in this wave. We did get a necklaced Bizarro, but... So there you go. That's about it for really packaging. What I'll do is I'll get Steel opened up here, and we will get a closer look at Steel. Now that we've opened up the figure, let's get a closer look at Steel. Now, once again, the good folks at Mattel are essentially reusing the exact same mold. So I mean, this is the same mold we would have gotten for Superman. And then they've just added some additional features like the very large Superman emblem shield, and then the shoulder pads. Some of the bracelets, the gauntlets on them, they've obviously changed that all up. But at the end of the day, it's still the exact same mold. So I mean, whether that's good or bad. I will say this though, I mean, I know there's a lot of haters out there that dislike the DC Universe, DC Superheroes figures. The good thing about it, and I had the same problem with the Justice League figures, the cartoon Justice League figures. I mean, they overused all the molds. I mean, the one Wonder Woman mold for Justice League, they've used for almost every female. There's basically only been 2 molds they've used. However, the same argument I can make about the DC Superheroes and DC Universe figures, I can probably say about the Justice League. At least if they're using the same mold, it means there's less cost involved really to put out the figures, and it also means then that we can get more obscure figures being released, because it doesn't mean that they have to do a different mold each time. Of course, the downside means that a lot of the molds all look the same. All the body types are the exact same. I mean, these legs, if you've watched all my videos, these legs are the exact same on all the figures, except for a few. I mean, like Mongol and Parasite and stuff like that. But, I won't knock it too much, just because, again, they may use the same mold, but at least it gives us obscure figures. And, they'll release a wider variety. So, but give you guys a good look at the detailing. Nice long cape. It doesn't look as though they've used this cape from any other figure. Yeah, even the Superman figure is definitely sporting a different cape than Steel. So they've they've at least done that. Now the steel was the only variant for this entire set. There were 3 different distinct steels released in this series. The figure was the exact same on all 3. The only difference was that the shield was varied from the 3 figures. There was the matte steel, which I have here, and it's not necessarily a matte, but as you can see, the shield is the same coloring as the shoulder pads. It's a little shinier than the rest of the body, but it's consistent. There was this. There was the Chrome S, which was a much shinier S. It was more of a mirror finish. I didn't pick it up, and actually that was the more expensive one to find. I didn't pick it up just because, if you ask me, the S should be the same as the rest of the body. It shouldn't be, such a shiny separate piece. I just don't think it looks good on the figure. I believe also there was more of a, not a bronze, but it was a little darker in color, the S, and it had a little more of a shinier finish than this as well. This was the more common to find steel figure. I was going to say Superman, but this was the more common steel. And if you ask me, I think this is the best steel, just because, again, the S, it works with everything else. Give you guys a look on the detailing on the face. At least it's nice that he's not sporting a Shaquille O'Neal face. Oh, that movie was terrible. But in the way of his articulation, he has free range in his head. He has articulation in the shoulders. Now, it's not going to move out very much just because of the shoulder pads and the cape and everything, but he has rotation in the bicep, in the elbow, and also in the hand. There's articulation in the torso. I think there's articulation in the waist, although it doesn't look like it's moving. There is articulation out in the leg, front to back. Now there's a tube that runs from the waist down to the foot, so I don't think you're going to get a lot of movement. It might hinder it a bit. Articulation in the knee, and there's also articulation in the foot. But really, really decent figure. I would say I'm glad to have picked him up, and I think him and the Cyborg probably are my favorites. He does come with the one accessory, his hammer. Kind of futuristic looking hammer here. He holds it pretty well. I mean, it's not a hassle or anything. The one problem is you kind of have to slide the hammer through for him to hold it. You can't just snap it in like you really want. It'd be a lot easier if you could do that, but. And then you can have him holding his hammer. Not too bad. The downside, obviously, when this guy made his first appearance, well, it wasn't his first appearance, but when he made his first appearance as Steel during the reign of Superman, I know they were all kind of hinting that any one of the 4 could be Superman. I really didn't think it was going to be Steel, though. I just figured he was a guy, just a guy with a suit kind of thing. And then, as you know, I mean, it turned out that any 4 of them were the real Superman. Superman was regenerating. My pick really was Eradicator. I thought Eradicator was going to be the new Superman just because he looked like Superman. But I'm getting off topic here. Talking about the comics, I should really be talking about the figure. Definitely a nice figure. It's definitely one I would say if you can find him somewhere, pick him up. He hasn't been reissued, unlike the Mongol and the Cyborg Superman. So as far as I can tell, the only way you can get this guy is to go and get him in this wave, the DC Universe or DC Superheroes wave. But hope you guys enjoyed it. That was a toy spot on DC Superheroes, the last DC Superheroes figure. That was a spot on Steel. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Later.